If you're someone who's training consistently, but you still look the same weeks and months later, and you're not putting on any more muscle, and you're not making sufficient progress in the gym, then this video is for you. I've had periods along my fitness journey where I was training consistently, and the weights I was lifting just weren't going up. And I found that my physique was actually just looking the exact same over the course of a few weeks, a few months, or even over the course of a year. My progress was just completely stalled. And in the beginning, I was making progress very easily. However, as it progressed further down the line, and I didn't have the knowledge I had today, I just found that my progress was completely stalled. And even though I was consistently gymming, I wasn't putting on any more muscle, the weight wasn't going up, and I wasn't making progress. So in this video, I'm going to go over exactly what I did to get over a gym plateau so you can do the same thing. So step number one, which is arguably the most important one on this list, is to track your lifts. So you should be keeping the exercises which you're doing consistent for a period of at least 12 to 14 weeks, and then aiming to progressively overload on these exact same movements each week. The reason why this is so important is because if you're not tracking your lifts, then you can't actually track whether or not your strength is increasing and whether or not you're progressively overloading on the exercises that you're doing. And as you know, strength and aesthetics and muscle growth go hand in hand. If you're not increasing your strength, then you're not going to build any more muscle. It's that simple. So if you're not sticking to the same exercises and tracking each week, and you're getting a little bit stronger each time, you're lifting more weight or you're doing more reps for the same weight, then you can't track whether or not your workouts are actually working and whether or not you're actually progressing. So this is absolutely essential because so many people go to the gym, they just pick whatever machine is free and then they load up to a weight that feels heavy and then work till failure. And even though this seems productive, it's actually really counterproductive. And it's really important that you actually have a logbook and have proof that you're getting stronger and that your training is working. So this is absolutely essential. Make sure that you stick to the same exercises for a period of at least 12 to 14 weeks and make sure you're tracking these lifts. It can be on your notebook or it can just be on your phone. It doesn't matter. But as long as you have somewhere, which is a metric which you can look at to show that you're progressively increasing the amount of weights you're lifting each week, this is how you really get past a plateau. So if you're doing this already and you're progressively overloading and you're tracking your lifts, however, you find that you're stalled and that the weight just won't move and you won't increase the amount of weight that you're lifting, the first step is it might just be a bad day. So generally a lot of people become too panicked when they think they've hit a plateau. And the reality is that they might just have a day where they're super tired, where they were stressed at work, or where they just didn't sleep that well. So first of all, it's important to note that if you're just having one bad session, you're not increasing the weight and you're not progressing, it might just be a bad day. But if it's going on for 2 or 3 weeks, then it's something which has become a problem with your training or your routine. So if this problem continues to persist and you're not actually increasing the weight, then the first factor is it's probably something outside of the gym. It could be that you're not getting enough sleep, which is really important for muscle growth, for testosterone, for your energy, and to boost your mood and mitochondria activation. Or it could be that your nutrition isn't on point. It could be that you're not eating enough calories to actually support muscle growth, or you're not getting a healthy amount of protein, fats, and carbs, which are absolutely essential to support your energy, your hormonal health, and that repair of muscle tissue. So it's important to note that although so many people think that it's just to do with the training, a huge part of this might be factors outside the gym. And 2 really key components of this are your nutrition, so you're eating in a slight calorie surplus based off healthy whole foods, and sleeping 7 to 9 hours a day. So if you're stuck on a plateau, these 2 things are absolutely essential. One other thing is some people do cardio which is too heavy and it causes too much cortisol and stress on their body, or they just have jobs which are highly stressful. So it's also managing your stress levels, because if your nervous system is constantly in a state of fight or flight and not rest and recover, then it's really going to affect your ability to actually recover and to come back stronger. Another factor which a lot of people make a mistake in is you might be training too frequently. If you're constantly training 4, 5, or 6 days per week, then this is way too much stimulus on your nervous system. And you're going to constantly be in a stressful state and you're not giving your body enough time to actually go through the adaptations and actually recover from the stress that you induce in the gym. So therefore, I highly recommend just cutting your workouts down to 3 days per week and having a day of rest in between each workout. I found that when I started doing this and when I started giving my central nervous system and my body, my muscles, enough time to adequately recover so that each time I was hitting the gym, I was completely fresh and ready to go, I found that my energy massively improved, my motivation to go to the gym went up, and therefore the amount of weight that I could lift just went up massively. This is when I started cutting out my training volume, cutting out junk volume, and just going 3 days per week. This is where my progressive overload really took off. I found that every single week I was going to the gym, I was lifting more weight, and I was doing it in just a much more efficient way as well. So I highly recommend looking at your training, and if you're training more than 3 days per week, understand that you're probably not giving your body enough time to actually fully recover, and you might be training way too often. And this is probably the reason why you're stuck on a plateau. One final point, and building on this point, is to implement a deload week. This is where if you're stuck and you're fully tired and you're not lifting any more weight over a long period of time and you're stuck on the same weight, I highly recommend just having a week off the gym completely and don't do any high intensive cardio activities. And I found that when you do this and you give your body a full 7 days to recover, it's very, very common that you actually start to come back a lot stronger because you feel refreshed, because your nervous system's fully recovered and replenished and ready to go. And overall, you just have so much more energy and you're so much more excited to train. So that's another key tip which you can do. If you're currently stuck on a plateau and constantly sore, constantly tired, just have that 1 week off, give your body a full week to recover, and then come back to the gym. And you'll often find that when you do this, your progress really starts to take off again.